guys. Happy hour is from 4 to 6.
You got a good sarsaparilla?
Sioux City sarsaparilla?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Miss Kennedy, would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What is
Shaken, not stirred.
Hold on. I'm not hearing it right. Hold on. We got it now.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
Hey guys, how's it going? Just a little happy hour intro. Today I switched it up from a sour. I'm drinking a Corona with some lime in it. It's getting ready for summertime, so hope you all are enjoying the nice weather out. Thanks for showing up. There's been a lot going on. I obviously saw The Flash like everyone else did. My review's been up for that. But I really want to see Asteroid City this weekend. I'm going to try to make some time. I know it's been in select theaters for a bit last weekend, I think. So I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. If you guys have not seen the Darjeeling Limited, that's one of my favorites. I think that might be top 3 favorite Wes Anderson movies, but it goes, I feel like, under the radar a bit. So later on, I will be having the Bone Bridger joining me. He'll be on around 5:15. So I just wrapped up filming with him, and he's a really, really great YouTuber, and I will have, actually, I already did it. So last week I did not have John Automate's link in the description, but now I have Bone Bridgers, and I highly recommend you subscribe to his channel because he's a great commentator and has some really fantastic points of view, and he's also a screenwriter, and so it's a really good combination. So let's see who's in the chat to start. Dimension Scott, thank you so much for joining. We have The View with Drew, always a big support there. Actually, Andrew, thank you so much. Now that we've realized how we know each other, and that's through the via the Little Platoon stream. So thanks for joining and stopping by. Luke Ponto, thank you so much for showing up and saying hi. Slip de Garçon, evening. Yes, I know it's not a happy hour maybe for everyone. Maybe it's like late evening. I'm sure my UK friends, it's like the nighttime. Bagface, hell yes. He did a great review on The Flash. I have yet to see his Craven the Hunter reaction to the trailer because I didn't get to see the trailer till today, and I didn't want to have it spoiled, but I will be watching that later on. Yes, Bone Bridger is dope. Yeah, he's a great guy. Yes, happy hour to everyone. Thank you so much for showing up, Holland. Hi, all. Corey Wilkerson, thank you so much for showing up. Oh, cool. Yeah, definitely check it out, Luke. Like, you're not going to have like a bad time. You know, it's not Thor: Love and Thunder or Ant-Man, Quantumania. You know, you'll have fun. So I really I wanted to talk about a couple things that I saw recently, and maybe you guys in the chat can let me know your thoughts on those. First of all, last night I finally watched the Nicolas Cage movie with Pedro Pascal, and now I'm blanking out what it's called. Oh my goodness, I should look this up because that's ridiculous that I'm talking about a movie I don't remember the name. The name's like kind of a lot. So I'm going to just I'll just bring you all in on IMDb with me right now while I figure this out. Unless someone in the chat knows exactly what I'm talking about, and you can just say what the movie's called. But yeah, Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal, really, really good. And I highly recommend it. So yes. Thank you, Luke. Now I don't have to go to IMDb. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I thought the entire time, like, why don't we get more movies like this? Because it was just a really smart comedy that was also had that balance of seriousness. It flew by. It was really well written. Their chemistry was fantastic. And I'll just keep this up so you guys know what I'm talking about. But yeah, fantastic movie if you check that out. I don't really like to talk about TV because I feel like that's maybe not what people are here for. But if any of you do watch Black Mirror, I did watch the first episode, and I don't want to spoil it for people that don't watch it or haven't watched the most recent season. But I liked it. I think Black Mirror is one of the best written shows on streaming, and I'm so happy to watch the rest of the series. So, or this season, I should say. So let's see here. We have Lance Jackson. Hello, everyone. Just at home listening to James Brown. Ooh, I love James Brown. And I hope that if you are a James Brown fan, you've seen Get On Up with Chadwick Boseman. I was shocked he did not get an Oscar nomination for that movie because he was absolutely incredible. It's one of those situations that happens a lot with biopics where the actor's performance is better than the movie itself. Like the movie's not bad. It's just one of those circumstances, because a lot of times that happens and the movie is so, but the actor's performance is like, oh my God, they were fantastic. And Chadwick Boseman was fantastic. Oh, you did. I'm so sorry. I didn't even read the rest of your comments, and I apologize. So yeah, absolutely, definitely watch that movie, Lance. I'm going on and on and on trying to recommend this to you, and you already brought it up. So you know what you're doing. Just go see it at this point. It's fantastic. You're going to have a great time. If a movie was made about your life, who would you want to play you? If a movie was made about me, I would want Asa Butterfield. He does have a resemblance to me. Okay. I'm going to star this and think about it because that is a very hefty question. And I feel like when it's thinking about someone that's to play your life, I don't necessarily think they have to resemble you, but that always helps. That's for sure. That always helps. I'm actually really curious to see how the Bradley Cooper biopic of Leonard Bernstein comes, how that's going to be when it comes out. Because I think he's a phenomenal actor, and it's a very interesting person that he's portraying. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely looking forward to it. Thank you, Max. Cheers. I've got the again Corona with lime. Yeah. I've kind of been overdoing it on the sours, and so I decided, let's stick to a traditional summer beer, which is the Corona with lime. I've been enjoying it, nice and refreshing. That's for sure. I'm sure I'll be having some tequila later this evening. And yeah, for all of you that are affiliated or know Mega Mike the Movie Man, he is having a live stream tonight that is a post-game discussion about The Flash. We did a pregame last week, so that will be tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, if people are interested or if they are fans of his channel. Yes, it was really, really, really well done. I love too that the way the writing was, you really didn't know up until the very end if Pedro Pascal was a good guy or a bad guy. I absolutely loved that, and his acting is really what emphasized that question, I feel, throughout the film. It was great. Popped in to say hi and keep up the great work. Loving the content. You're killing it. Oh, thank you, Commander Nerd. I salute you. Cheers. Very nice. Newbie here. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Listening. Oh, fantastic. I have to say, yeah, a lot of the YouTubers that I watch their stuff or their streams, I listen to it a lot of times as like a podcast, like when I'm going to work or I'm like cleaning my apartment. So yeah, totally. Thanks for your support, Hawkeye. Hey, Tracy, hope you're having a great day. Looks like The Flash is underperforming. Yes. I would say, regardless if you think the movie's good or bad, I think the biggest surprise is the underwhelming box office. Not saying it should have been, the highest grossing film of the summer, but I think everyone's a little bit surprised that it did so poorly. I don't know what the second week is going to look like, the second weekend, and what the drop's going to look like. I think that's going to be incredibly interesting to see. We do have Indiana Jones coming out next weekend, which I kind of feel like Indiana Jones 5 is such a dad movie. I'm really surprised they didn't claim the Father's Day weekend spot. So, yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen next weekend. I have a feeling, Indy could probably might do a little bit better than we thought. And then The Flash would have a huge drop. But I'm not sure because, Indiana Jones has such a negative outlook right now. Like the people's perspectives of the film do not look good. So I don't know. Maybe people are going to say like, oh, I was going to see Indiana Jones and now I'm going to see The Flash instead. So who knows? They're both dad movies, right? Like Michael Keaton and Indiana Jones. I think they're both movies you'd want to take your dad to. Are you a heavy book reader? I was, but I am not currently reading a lot. I am reading a couple things. I have this book. Where is it? Oh my goodness. Yes, this one's really great. It's been like beaten up because I've been reading it over like a long period of time. One of my good buddies gave this to me. And it's really interesting. It's about the making of Jaws because that production was so problematic. And fascinating how that movie was made. I think it's really inspirational for any young filmmaker that wants to do stuff on a really low budget. And then here is the other one. I feel like we just like did some reorganizing. It's a Fran Lebowitz book that I've been really into. She cracks me up, and she's very New York, and she's like best friends with Scorsese, and I like her perspective on things. Makes me laugh. So. Oh, nice. Thank you so much for stopping by, Movie Cynic. I saw your live stream yesterday. Really great discussion, really interesting panel. Nice to see Mr. Brown on there as well. I'm pretty surprised about The Flash's box office. I wouldn't be surprised, though, with a 70% drop next weekend now that we've seen overall reception. Oh, thank you. Yeah, like I don't know. I feel like in 5 years or 10 years, I really think the problem with that movie was people calling it the best movie ever made. I think that was just the worst marketing you could ever do. Because then it's like, wait, is it? Like, is that the best movie ever? Like, I have friends, I've told people, movies are, really good films. I'll be like, oh, you have to watch this. And then like 6 months later, they finally get around to watch it. And I've been hounding them about it. And they're like, well, it was okay. And it's like, I know that's because you waited too long and I overhyped it and all that stuff. I do think the early previews of it as well were really detrimental too, because you had a lot of super fans. You had a lot of movie reviewers go to Cinecon. And like in an environment like Cinecon, everyone's in such this like high. And so you're going to say it's like the best thing you've ever seen because everyone's there together. You're all like-minded people. And I think all of that just really fed the overhypedness of the film and why people felt disappointed. So, thank you so much for showing up though. And I 100% agree with you. So thank you. Everyone check out his channel. I'm sure everyone here knows his channel. So maybe he doesn't need my promotion there, but you should if you have not checked out his channel. Any Oscar hopefuls this year? Oppenheimer. Yeah. So I think the two big films are going to be Oppenheimer and then Killers of the Flower Moon. Absolutely. Todd Haynes has another film coming out called May December, which has not really been talked about a lot yet, but it did very well at Cannes. I think that Barbie could surprisingly get a screenplay nomination. I really would not be surprised just because it is Noah Baumbach along with Greta Gerwig. And again, we don't really know what this movie is at this point. I think it is going to be a little bit more heavy-handed politically. So that could either go well or horribly. I'm going to do the double feature with Oppenheimer and Barbie. I'm like setting that up. I'm going to see Oppenheimer, grab some dinner, and then go see Barbie. I told my boyfriend, I'm like, we're both like making sure we're doing it that Thursday. He's taking off from work. I was like, let's just do it. So I would not be surprised if Barbie does not get, I would be surprised if Barbie doesn't get an Oscar for a nomination for screenplay. But again, I haven't seen it, and I think it's really difficult to make predictions like that without seeing a film. Yeah, Oppenheimer, Killers of the Flower Moon, Across the Spider-Verse is absolutely getting some nominations. I really don't think it's going to be only Best Animated Film. I mean, it's going to win that one because there's nothing that could top that as far as animation goes. But if it was going to sneak in, I could see it somewhere in screenplay or production design, something. I just don't think it's only going to get animated because that film was really fantastic and it was so artistic. Mission Impossible 7 hit the internet. The reviews are amazing. Some called it best of the year. Well, but is that going to be like what happened with The Flash? I'm hopeful. I think Tom Cruise understands what a good product is. I really, when Top Gun had come out, I really had no desire to see it. And it took me till October to see it because it was still out in theaters where I live. And I was like, you know what? Everyone has hounded me to see this movie. And it was one of those situations that was kind of the opposite of what I was talking about earlier. So I'm kind of contradicting myself. But I sat down and I watched it and I was like, wow, that was like a really solid movie. And I had a great time and it was really well directed. And the camera work, the fact that Top Gun did not get an Oscar nomination for Best Cinematography is absolutely insane, as well as The Batman. Both of those films should have absolutely been nominated for Best Cinematography. Like that was absolutely bananas last year. Okay, so this is great because I was actually talking about this with Bone Bridger and John Automates. I think that Cillian Murphy will absolutely get an Oscar nomination, and he absolutely deserves one. I feel you can tell Christopher Nolan's been waiting for years to make him the lead of one of his movies. I will see anything Cillian Murphy's in. He's such a captivating actor. The trailers, he looks absolutely phenomenal. So that's absolutely going to be one for sure. I would not be surprised as well if we'd see a Oscar nomination for Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, probably Best Supporting Actor. I don't know. He plays the villain, essentially, and I was learning about this. John Automates was really great in educating me on what the film is about. And he plays like the worst person in U.S. history, like one of the worst. So you're going to really like have to hate Robert De Niro. And that's going to be really interesting because I think, you know, we've seen him in so many roles where he's playing a bad guy, but you still like him because he's Robert De Niro. So this, if he comes off as being like awful and you absolutely hate him, then I can absolutely see him getting a Best Supporting Actor nomination. But then again, if how big he is in the film, I'm not positive. So it might be Best Actor, but definitely Best Supporting Actor, I would say. And actually, one of the films I think that Robert De Niro did, where he does play like a really unlikable guy, is Raging Bull. I think the filmmaking of Raging Bull is absolutely spectacular. I cannot stand that character, and that's the whole point. And that's why I've never rewatched it. Like, I just don't want to see that movie again because that character who's the lead is just such an asshole. Like, you know, I just don't want to see him ever again, but that movie is phenomenal. So I really highly recommend it if you haven't seen Raging Bull, but I'm pretty sure everyone here has probably seen Raging Bull. Let's see. Director, actor you would want guesting on your channel for a drink. Jordan Peele, absolutely. Wes Anderson, I feel like would just want to like smoke weed. I feel like I get that vibe from him. I don't know if he comes off as like a big drinker. I feel like he's more into the green. But let me think about that. That's tough. Those are my answers for now. I'm going to star this though, and then come back to it because that is there's a lot of actors I feel like recently that I've been like, oh, I would love to get a drink with them. Let's see. Oh, yes, great point. Absolutely great point. And I feel like I don't want this to be confusing as I feel like that's going to happen. I think people are going to be like, "Oh my god, they're remaking The Color Purple. Like what is going on? There's no original stuff anymore." That's true, but they are it's an adaptation of the Broadway show version of The Color Purple. So, it's a completely different interpretation, and Spielberg's a producer on it. The Broadway show, when it came out in New York, got rave reviews. The music's apparently really good. I never got a chance to see it. So this is the adaptation of the musical based on the movie by Spielberg that's based on a book. So there we go. I feel like I'm in Inception. We just did The Color Purple is going to be the Inception movie of this year, I feel like. I'm from the UK. I've seen you on Peter's live chats. Oh, I love Playtendo. Yes. Thought you show a lot of passion for movies. Have you seen any Hammer films? Love them. Many horror directors talk about how influential they were. So I'm going to tell you right now, I enjoy horror films, but I'm not one of those YouTubers that's a horror expert by any means, because if you go to a YouTuber horror expert channel, it is like knowledge. They've seen every like A, B, C, D, E, F, G horror movie. So I'm certainly not that, but I do appreciate and I do enjoy watching horror films here and there for sure. I personally, I'm not clicking with who Hammer is, but I could definitely IMDb that, and I know I'll star this, and maybe I'll save it for later. Maybe when I bring Bonebridger on, he'll know who we're talking about. Bonebridger will be on at 5:15, by the way. So if you think this is kind of like maybe not your style, and you're waiting for the two of us to converse, you can always log out and come back on and check us out at that point. Let's see here. So we've got. Hey, fellow Brit, I love Hammer films. The Devil Rides Out. There we go. So you two can. That's fantastic. I'm glad that we have someone in the chat that knows who Hammer is. And I again, sincerest apologies that I do not know who that is. Hammer were a prolific horror studio from the 50s and 70s. Okay, is that now? Again, I'm very ignorant on this. So is it a British production company or is it an American production company? I feel like I was on I was on a stream recently and we were talking about this British production company that just I believe sold. It got sold, or it's dissipating, something like that. And I had not been familiar with it. And it was me and another American on the channel. And we were like, we have never heard of this company or this studio, but it is it was 100% a British company that we just don't get a lot of their films from or TV shows. Oh, nice. Yeah. John Wick 4 is so awesome. Yeah. Talk about a movie that flies by in 3 hours. Fantastic. And, we could talk for hours about just that one shot, the overhead shot and that fight scene that with no cuts, beautiful directing. And I will say, this was one of my favorite times being in a movie theater when John Wick falls down the stairs and has to do the whole thing. You just saw him fight all over again. It felt like a video game, and the entire audience was just like, I feel like I've talked about this a lot, but like that was a phenomenal time to be in the audience. So, yeah, great film. I really don't want them to do a fifth one though. Let's just keep him dead in John Wick 4. Like if you want to do, I know they're doing the ballerina spinoff and stuff like that. So like have him be a cameo or something, but we do not need a John Wick 5 in my opinion. British, think Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to write that down, actually. It's Hammer Films, because I like learning about production companies that I'm not familiar with. So thank you very much for enlightening me. Hey, Tracy, how are you? Favorite Keanu Reeves film? That's tough. I do love the Bill and Ted series. I do love Point Break is fun. Some people hate that movie. I thought that movie had a huge fan base, but I feel like I've been like talking to people recently that don't like Point Break, which is quite surprising. That's one of the movies that's like it's from that era, and I feel like that maybe people that aren't like younger people like don't really get why that movie works. I guess I don't know. Some things are just they're so era related or they're so pertinent, like of why they were good for the time. Like I always say this about American Beauty, like I don't personally think it's aged at all, and I think it's relevant all the time, but some people think it looks dated. I don't think that American Beauty is dated, and I think it's still a masterpiece. Greetings from Ohio. Oh, very nice. I know, well, actually the person I knew from Ohio just moved, so never mind. But my dad lives in Iowa, so that's pretty close. He checks out my channel sometimes, so that's cool. So okay, so let's talk about I would like to ask everyone in the chat right now, are you seeing Asteroid City? And if you are seeing Asteroid City, are you looking forward to it? Are you excited? Also, I would love to hear your favorite Wes Anderson movies. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I would love to hear like what you guys like to watch and what your favorite films of his are and where maybe he missed the mark. I feel like I really need a rewatch of The French Dispatch because I felt like it wasn't anywhere near close to my favorites of his. Again, if you have joined the chat, I'm just going to repeat this because I feel like people have never seen this movie, but The Darjeeling Limited is, I think, in the top 3, maybe my favorite Wes Anderson film. So let's see here. And it's like less gimmicky. I think The Darjeeling Limited is his least gimmicky film as far as like his shtick goes. Point Break is 100% my favorite Keanu movie. Did you already know that? Oh no, I did not know that, Laren. But yeah, Point Break is cool as hell. And a lot of people don't know that Catherine Bigelow directed it, which was James Cameron's second wife. I think it was his first or second wife. And actually, a fun note on that one. When Catherine Bigelow was nominated for Best Picture with The Hurt Locker, James Cameron was nominated as well for Avatar, the first one. And they sat her right behind him or right in front of him. And they were divorced at this time. And so then when she won Best Director for The Hurt Locker, it was like a super, super big dig on that one. And that joke that both Amy Poehler and Tina Fey said was so funny when they said like, oh, a lot of people are complaining about the torture scenes in The Hurt Locker, but if anyone knows anything about torture, it's Catherine Bigelow for being married to James Cameron for 7 years. And I thought that was just hilarious. So, oh, Bagface, that's okay. You're not the only one. I know there's people that don't like him. I think it's I don't know. I grew up like just kind of everything was in that hipstery era of film. Then that was like in my formative years, turning from a teen to a 20-year-old something. And, I think that's why Wes Anderson was kind of right up my alley at that time. But I can understand why it's not for everyone. But I do say, even if you hate Wes Anderson, check out The Darjeeling Limited. It's quite enjoyable. Mega Mike the Movie Man. Yes, I will be on his channel later tonight. And it will be a Flash post-game chat. So we did a pregame last I guess it was last Tuesday, and now tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time we will be doing yes, we did the pregame last week, post game tonight. Yes, I apologize for screwing that up, but Mega Mike the Movie Man, check out his channel. He has some great content on there. How has Tom Hanks not been in a Wes Anderson film? Yeah, we were just talking about this earlier. I think it's hilarious that Tom Hanks is actually in Asteroid City, which is strange casting, but I'm going to see how it plays out. I like Tom Hanks. His performance in Elvis was horrendous and he was sleeping, but I feel bad because I like him a lot. And so I know a lot of people that didn't see Elvis heard his performance was bad and they were very defensive. And I can understand that because he's such a likable guy and a great actor. So him phoning it in for Elvis was disappointing. And maybe it just was the director. I feel like Baz Luhrmann, it must be difficult to, like, if you guys don't have like a similar mind or mindset moving forward, or you don't have that chemistry with Baz, maybe you're just on totally separate pages, and that's why it didn't work out. Let's see. Oh, Basement Blues. Yes. Hey, he has a huge collection. Oh my goodness. This YouTuber has like one of the biggest collections of physical media. Highly check out his channel if you're really into that stuff. Great channel. Okay. No, the next film I'm likely to see in theater is Indiana Jones. Yeah. I mean, people are going to see it. I probably won't. I will probably wind up doing a review on Asteroid City, but I feel like Indiana Jones is not even this weekend. It's next weekend. I still haven't put out my review of The Conversation. I rewatched the 1974 film. I'm sorry. I watched the 1974 film, The Conversation. I hadn't seen it prior with Gene Hackman, and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to make a video about it. And then like all the Flash stuff came out, and I've been behind and Across the Spider-Verse. So I have that kind of in the on deck to edit. So maybe instead of seeing Indiana Jones, I'll make that video instead. So do you or don't have the movie Hannah? I've said this many times. My collection is not the biggest. My boyfriend and I have a very small apartment, so we have a collection, and it's not bad, but it's not great. And I do not believe we own the movie Hannah. And actually, I have not seen it, but I've heard it's quite good. Laren, Darjeeling Limited is great. Bottle Rocket is my favorite. Yeah. I mean I love the fact that Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson like met in college. I think that like that's so cool. I love hearing stories like that when they were like super young and they had huge influences on each other and decided to just make their own stuff. I think that's really cool. Hey Tony, da, 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 da. Have you seen X and Pearl? If you have, are you excited about Maxine? Okay, so I like literally just found out about Maxine, and I've been behind on the horror films. Like I watched Megan like when they released the unrated cut. That's how long it took me to watch that. So I'm excited to venture into this horror franchise because I don't know if it's a franchise, but they're all related, right? It's like I'm again, my apologies, but I've heard they're like fantastic and they're all linked up together. So I will be watching those definitely at some point because again, I've heard nothing but great things. Love your channel. Thank you, Zach Pajak. Pajak, I think. I don't want to mispronounce it. I apologize if I did. Love your channel. Seeing Asteroid City with friends this weekend. Heard mixed things, but looking forward to it. Favorites are Darjeeling Limited, followed by Grand Budapest Hotel. Yeah, those are. Yeah, Grand Budapest Hotel was quite good. I don't know if I prefer it over Moonlight Kingdom. We've had the Moon Knight with Marvel, and yeah, I think it's Moonlight Kingdom. I could be wrong. The camping one with the kids. I like that one a lot. I am a huge fan of oh my goodness. I feel like every time I say I'm a huge fan of something and I'm about to announce what that thing is, I blank out on that person's name. Oh my goodness. I wanted to say Sam Rockwell. It's not Sam Rockwell. I do love Sam Rockwell, but it's not Sam Rockwell. It is the guy from Fight Club and everything else that I love. Birdman and Edward Norton. Sorry about that. I don't know why I was thinking Sam Rockwell. I love both actors though. And I like that Edward Norton has been doing a lot of Wes Anderson films recently. That's pretty cool. Oh, I have not seen The Weight of Water. I would be curious because I would like to see something she's done that's not a war film. But maybe The Weight of Water is a war film, so who knows? I'm also an Ice Cube fan. Are We There Yet is my favorite movie. I love his character, Nick. Well, I have not seen Are We There Yet, but I have seen other films that he's in. So that's pretty cool. And I know you're the Fat Albert fan, and we've talked about Kenan Thompson before. So I love your thumbnail so much because I'm a big Kenan Thompson fan, except there's no SNL going on right now. So yeah, I usually watch SNL every week. I usually watch it on the replay on like Sundays because I work Saturdays, and yeah, we have not had any SNL in New York, and the lights are dim, I would say. Looking forward to the post game flash chat tonight. Oh, awesome! Thanks. Yeah, it'll be fun. So now I'm questioning because now I'm thinking was it Pay Jack or Puz Jacques? But I think Pay Jack is what he's saying because yeah, phonetically I think that makes sense. Well, thank you for letting me know. I really so many times I'm called Stacy instead of Tracy, so I understand the people confusing my name sometimes, and I really don't like to judge other people. Moonrise Kingdom. What did I say? Moonlight Kingdom? Yeah, Moonlight. Yeah. Thank you so much for correcting me on that. Moonrise Kingdom. I did like that one a lot. Yeah, I saw the trailer today. And Bagface, who was on earlier, check out his reaction to it. I have not seen his reaction, but I did see the trailer today, and it looks cool. I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I like that it's rated R. That's a big risk these days because usually films are PG-13 because of teenagers, and teenagers have money to spend, and teenagers don't pay taxes, so they get to just have their babysitting income go to things like going to the movies on Friday nights, and that's what studios depend on quite frequently. So seeing that they did take the risk and make it a rated R movie, yeah, I think the trailer looks good. I've heard like the character is completely different than what he was in the comics. Some people say that the trailer looks exactly like how Morbius looked. But I didn't see Morbius because everyone online warned me of how bad it was. So I chose not to spend my money there. I'll probably like hate watch Morbius at some point because that's got to be a fun time, right? Once you know like a movie's really bad and you want to figure like just check it out, it's got to be fun. I feel like. Do you think Mission Impossible 7 will be the best movie of July? I do. Well, box office wise, yes. I have very high hopes for Oppenheimer. So as far as quality of film, I would say they're both up there, probably for different reasons. Personally, I'm going to see Mission Impossible 7, but it's not because I'm dying to see another Mission Impossible movie. I just think that Tom Cruise is so he wants everything to be so big and so over the top. So I'm excited to see what he does with that, because it's kind of like the promotion for that movie just cracks me up when he's on the plane and it's so over the top. The director's like, we're going to shoot now. And he's like standing on an airplane and they're like, okay, let's go. So, you know, I'll see that just out of being like, how crazy is this movie going to be? But I personally think Oppenheimer is probably going to be the better film. Yes, thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I'm so glad someone figured out what I was trying to say. Yeah, Edward Norton, fantastic actor. You, Me, and Dupree is another movie I like, right up there with Pacifier, because I love it when Vin Diesel beats up the ninja. I never saw The Pacifier. I've seen, I don't know if I saw the entire You, Me, and Dupree. I might have just seen clips. So I'm not positive. But Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? I'm definitely more of a Star Wars person, and I'm not even that big of a Star Wars person. I appreciate Lord of the Rings a lot, and I appreciate all of the lore around that. I watched, I don't know if anyone else watched this. There was like a Hobbit cartoon in the 80s that I used to watch as a kid a lot, and I really liked that one. I think Ralph Bakshi did the animation for that, actually. And I haven't seen that in years, but I remember really enjoying that. So, yeah, I would say I'm a bigger Star Wars fan. But even then, I feel like maybe they're kind of like they go hand in hand as far as how much I like them, I would say. Have you seen Bigelow's Near Dark Great Vampire film? No, I have not. I'm going to write some of these down, though. I did write a few things down earlier, so I'm going to just write down Near Dark I should check out and see what she's doing because I have not heard of her doing anything at all recently. But maybe that's because everyone just likes to talk about, the drama at DC and Marvel. So no one's really like, oh, did you hear what Catherine Bigelow's directing next? But I would like to know because I really like her. Fat Albert was the first movie I've seen. Yes. Wow. That's pretty cool. The first movie I saw was in 1989, The Little Mermaid, the original one. And I think my mom took me quite a few times. But yeah, that's pretty awesome. Cool. Yeah. So I just want to thank everyone for showing up. That's a good question. I think when it comes to did you guys actually, I was going to talk about the Oscars, but we don't even have to talk about the Oscars because we can talk about how the fact that the Golden Globes just sold the company. And I believe it's Dick Clark Productions, unless Dick Clark Productions is a company that owned it. I'm pretty sure it's not. And they own a lot of film news news article companies, newspapers, things like that. I think they've owned Vanity Fair and is it the Hollywood Reporter? One of those. I'm just curious if anyone in the chat has any opinion on the Golden Globes selling their company. So I know they've had so many controversies, making it a very uneven voting panel as far as demographics go. I'd love to hear about that if any of you have any opinions regarding that. I don't know. I think it was probably like the right move. They're still going to have, an award. So they're still going to have their award show. So maybe some kind of like rebranding. A lot of people don't watch the Golden Globes to begin with. I think it on cable. So I don't know if they're finally they'll probably make better deals moving forward with streaming services. I think, it was Netflix, I think, that did this recently where you could stream something big live. Oh no, you know what it was? It was like they did like the Love is Blind finale and they did a live, I keep calling it streaming. It's not streaming. It's just showing, which I think something like Netflix is probably going to do more of. And I feel like there were talks about Netflix being the home of one of the award shows, and then everyone would just watch it there. So that would be very interesting and make it more accessible. These award shows don't have high ratings, so why are you making it difficult for people to watch them? Like for people that want to watch them, just make it a little bit easier, I think. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try to go back to, I have 3 starred questions here. I will try to answer this one. I don't know. Willem Dafoe, I would love to get a drink with. He lives in New York too. And I keep, like, every time I'm in Soho, I'm like, maybe I'm going to run into Willem Dafoe because he's just the coolest, I think. And I think a fascinating person. I love him in interviews. I guess I would say before we bring Bone Bridger on, which is going to be momentarily, I would say if anyone did see The Flash, or if they didn't see The Flash, I'd love to hear why you did or you did not, because again, that box office is just rough. So if you guys want to, maybe like a yay, a nay, I wish I could do polls, and I feel like you can only do polls when you're monetized, because I have not been able to figure that out. So forgive me on the no polls thing right now. I would like to do that because I think it makes things more fun. Please forgive me if you already answered this. Is there a specific movie or movies that are what got you into films in a big way? Yes, it was when I saw American Beauty when I was 12 or 13. I remember watching the Oscars that year when I was like 10 or 11, and it won everything. And I kept seeing the trailer, and it looked really enticing. And then back in the day, there was a website where you could look at any film's screenplay. So, you could just type in, and I forget what the URL was. I can't imagine it exists now because you could just, I mean, the copywriting alone on that would be very risky. So you would type in like to this website any movie you ever wanted to read the script for, and it was usually there. And so I hadn't seen the film, and I had typed in American Beauty, and I was like, oh my god, I have to watch this because this looks so cool. And again, I had been entrenched with it with the Oscars like 2 or 3 years earlier and all that, and the big twist ending, which there's like 3 twist endings. So when I finally watched it, which was like pretty close after reading the script, I was absolutely blown away. And I that's when I started looking at film as really an art form instead of just entertainment. And it made me want to be a director. And I think it's still rewatchable. I think there's so much in that movie that really set the groundwork for a lot of films that came out afterwards. It was a pioneer in a lot of things, in those like dark comedy, surreal, cynical types of, like cynical but hopeful. Like it's like that balance that movie does so well. Willem Dafoe, he's got such unique charisma. Yeah, did any of you guys see that movie Inside that he put out? Because I really wanted to see that. It was in theaters for a weekend, and that's pretty much what happened to it. So I didn't hear anything positive or negative, but I think it's on demand at this point, and I'd like to check it out if it's good. It's literally a one-man show with Willem Dafoe, and he plays like I don't want to say a jewel thief, but like I think an art thief actually, or something like that. And he breaks in, and he gets locked into the apartment because of all the security stuff. And so he's running out of food. He's running out of supplies, like air and everything. Like the apartment is not air necessarily. That's a little ridiculous, but like everything that you would need, he's running out of because like it's someone else's apartment, and you can only go through so much of their supplies. So yeah, I really want to see that. It definitely looks like it's like he has kind of like a bit of a meltdown, just from being isolated as well. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely it has problems. You know, everyone's looking at that movie under a microscope right now. So I understand when people have more problems with it than I did, because I really had a great time. And that's one of the things actually I did not talk about was the score in my review. And I was so mad that I forgot to mention that, because I thought that was one of the best scores for a superhero movie I've seen or heard in quite some time. I thought that it was really fantastic and really elevated lots of the emotional beats of the movie. And especially at that end, which is a controversial, not end, but the controversial part where you start to see all of the renditions of, you know, Christopher Reeves and Supergirl and Nicolas Cage, like all that. The music for that scene was just absolutely beautiful. And I apologize if I'm spoiling this. Wait, I feel like a few people in the chat have not seen it yet. So I apologize if I just spoiled something for you, but I feel like what I said has been talked about probably already to death. Inside is on Peacock, watched yesterday. It's okay, not for everyone. Okay. Well, to me, I would watch 2 hours of Willem Dafoe by himself, locked in a room. So just because I think he's such a fascinating actor. So, you know, yeah, I'll check that one out. I'm glad someone in the chat has actually seen it. That's awesome about American Beauty. I remember that website. I read the script there too. Yeah, what was that called? I don't remember what it was, but literally, guys, it was the coolest thing. Any movie you wanted to read the script for, you could just by typing it in. And I don't remember what it was called, but my entire middle school era was reading a lot of those scripts. Lots of interesting scenes that didn't get into the final film. Oh, of American Beauty? That's actually really interesting. I bet. They probably, it was Sam Mendes, right? Yeah, Sam Mendes and Alan Ball directed that, Alan Ball wrote it, and then Sam Mendes directed it. I would not be surprised. I should look into that, because I don't necessarily know any specific scenes that didn't get into the movie, but I would love to check those out. Oh, that's a really good joke. Yeah. No, I mean for the people that did see it, everyone's being really hyper specifically positive or negative. I think it's like on both ends of the spectrum. Um, and again, I do think it is the overhypedness thing, and it's supposed to be the game changing movie of the year. Franco Walker, thank you so much for joining. We were just talking about well, we've been talking about a lot. I don't know, maybe Franco, maybe you remember what the website's called. There used to be a website where you could type in any film and the screenplay, you'd be able to read the screenplay for like anything you wanted. And I don't think it's available anymore. So, just throwing that out there if you remember. We're getting closer to the time that Bone Bridger is going to join me. I feel like I don't need to talk about The Flash anymore. That's not saying that people have questions about it, but I just don't think I need to talk about The Flash. I'm going to be talking about it all night tonight, and then tomorrow during my live stream with my boyfriend. He's a Flash expert, so that's why I felt it was important to have him on to do a stream. He grew up with the comics, and he's a big runner. Like he just loves The Flash in general. So. Okay, so that's Laren. That's like a really great question because I'm a huge HBO fan. Everything they put out is high tier, in my opinion. 6 Feet Under, I've only seen a couple episodes, and that's the one show out of all the HBO shows that I had missed that I felt like I really wanted to start from the beginning and then just go with it. I feel like at one point I did start it and I just didn't finish it. But I normally try to, if it's a big series on HBO, watch it. And yes, that is Alan Ball, which is why you brought that up, I'm sure. Sorry to nerd out about American Beauty a moment. The whole framing device was originally a courtroom scene, and the daughter and Wes Bentley character are accused as being the murderers of Lester. Whoa. Wow, that's really interesting. I think it works better because you don't really know who killed him until you find out it was the neighbor. And I love that actor so much too. And I'm blanking out on his name. I don't know. I don't blank out on actors' names at all. And then when I go on live streams, I just it's out the window. But yeah, it's the guy that played the neighbor's dad, who was absolutely phenomenal in that movie. I like how that ended. I think they didn't need a courtroom scene. I think it ends beautifully with now I feel like I can't talk anymore. I feel like I'm like talking myself out to death here with this movie. Not in a bad way though. You hear Kevin Spacey's voice and talking about all of the memories and like seeing his life flash before his eyes. It just ends with that, and he's like the gunshot, blood all over his face. Love the way that ended. I don't think they would need a courtroom scene at all. And I really like that you found out the way they showed it who killed him, because it could have been, all of the people in the film could have killed him. And then they actually reveal it. Oh, that's okay. 6 Feet Under is a great show. Yes, Chris Cooper. Thank you. See, at least we have people in the chat that they know who I'm talking about and they can say who it is. Fantastic. Chris Cooper. I feel like I haven't seen him in much recently. The last thing I saw him was, I feel like, the Muppets movie. He played the villain in the Muppets movie with Jason Sudeikis. Did any of you guys see that one? That's a really great film. I love the Muppets, and I think they did a great job with that. I did not see the sequel, though. I did not see. It was like the one with Tina Fey. It did not look good. So, but if you guys liked the second Muppets movie, maybe you can persuade me otherwise. But I definitely did not see it and did not care to see it. Love the final version of the film. Perfect. Yeah, it really is. And that's the era where you had Office Space and you had Fight Club. And that was, so much to say about what was going on in suburban culture and the whole idea that was left over from the 80s of these corporate jobs and making tons of money and like kind of putting band-aids on emotions and not actually dealing with your problems. And everyone had a facade and showed off. And there's a different aspect of that now going on with, Instagram and the way people perceive you and things like that. But that was a very different time. And it was Gen X who was very, F the establishment type of thing. So, you did have a lot of movies like that with those messages. So it was definitely part of that family. We were just talking about, do you guys think, that Alan Ball is going to be writing anything new, like a new series? Because I feel like what was the last thing he did was True Blood. And I would be curious if you guys knew about that. Who knows, I guess, really. And again, I have switched from my sour to a Corona. Summertime. Do you guys have any summer plans? What do you think is like the perfect summer movie? Or what are you looking forward to seeing this summer? That would be a good combination. And what do you think is going to be the biggest box office winner of the season, of the summer? I think Mission Impossible, actually, now that I think about it, could actually take over the box office. Seeing what we've seen so far, with everything else. Just going to go back here. If a movie was made about your life, who would you want to play you? If a movie was made about me, I would want... Oh, yes. I remember this question. I feel like the only person I relate to, I guess, in Hollywood would be Emma Stone. so many times I feel like she's I can be incredibly awkward and bizarre. I feel like she's similar. So I would say Emma Stone. But that would be an honor. But it's if I had to answer that question, someone like that, someone with like that quirkiness and awkwardness, because my God, I can be awkward. American Graffiti is a good summer movie. Yes, I actually saw that this past year for the first time, I believe. So, it was really fun. I agree with that. I'm going to actually get Bone Bridger on momentarily. He just arrived. I'm going to play a little quick minute transitional piece, and we'll have Bone Bridger on the stream. I'm going to take this comment off, though. And
the hour is from 4 to 6.
You got a good sarsaparilla?
Sioux City sarsaparilla?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Miss Kennedy, would you get me a medium dry vodka martini?
What a
Shaken, not stirred.
Hold on. I'm not hearing it right. Hold on. We got it now.
Is there alcohol in this?
Oh, God, honey, no. What kind of mother do you think I am? Why do you want a little bit? Because if you're going to drink, I'd rather you do it in the house.
Make it Suntory time.
That was epic.
Yeah, I was trying to find some of like the funny ones that I know off the top of my head, scenes from movies where they're, drinking or talking about it. So it might evolve over time just to get it, rolling.
Yeah, so good though. Very
Oh,
cool.
thank you. I love the Suntory commercial that Bill Murray does in Lost in Translation. That's like one of my favorite scenes, and the director's like losing it and speaking Japanese to him, and he's like, "Wait," he said, "Just like look at the camera," like that's all he said because he goes on and on and on. Great scene. So
That's so
thank
cool.
thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
Yeah, I know we've been chatting earlier today. I'm sure the chat is finally happy that you're here because I'm sure that you are definitely what people are looking forward to. So very nice of you to join me.
You are far too kind for a man who, I did last week tell you and John that my personality was a little bit like, what was it, Shutter Island? So, it's not.
That's a really good movie. And actually I visited.
It is a good movie.
Yeah, I visited Roosevelt Island recently,
did you
which is
really?
like right across from where I live. Like if I'm looking out on the river, we look at this island called Roosevelt Island, and we went there for the first time. We took the tram just like Spider-Man, and apparently there was like a huge psychiatric ward there, and I believe there was an outbreak of I don't know. It's like where they put people that were dealing with some major outbreak in the 1900s. And I
Dang.
felt like that maybe was the island that Scorsese was talking about for that movie, for Shutter Island. But who knows?
It might have been. That movie's weird, but it's weird in a way I like. Like, it's weird in the explorative, like, looking back, it all makes sense. Like, at the end, of course, you look back and you're like, oh, this movie makes sense. But at the beginning, I had no clue. Like, I was like, what is happening? Why am I, like, why is this a horror movie? But then, Scorsese doesn't do horror. He does, like, you got to think about it, I guess.
Yeah. I loved it because at the end when you see Leo getting like into character as the detective and all of that, it's almost like he had his brain wiped essentially, because he's dealing with this and that's their therapy using that they are using on him, but you don't really know. And I love how it's kind of up to interpretation for what Scorsese's intentions really were.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask your opinion on this actually. Because a lot of people now that The Flash has been so, we've spoken about the box office, is so underwhelming. Do you think that Mission Impossible 7 is going to be the biggest movie of the summer?
I think so too. And John Automates at the beginning of the year told me that's going to be the movie. Like he told me, he was like, other than Mario, because if you don't exclude Mario, it'll not be a fair conversation because of course Mario was the biggest of the year. I think this is going to be a big movie. I think it crosses $1 billion. I think the hype that it's part one of a part two, Tom Cruise riding high off of last year, it's the perfect combination. And I think it really helps that it's coming out after Indiana Jones and The Flash. And I think the reason being is it's real stunts versus lots of heavy VFX CGI. I think that it just sits well. And it's the last big action movie before we get to probably the two movies I'm most excited about, to be honest. Barbie and Oppenheimer. I want to watch both on the same day to be able to say that I watched a Barbie movie and a movie about the biggest event maybe in history.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right though. I think Mission Impossible, I could see it really, I think $1 billion. I don't think it really goes high.
Right.
But maybe it hits $1 billion. And if it hits 900 million, that's great too, because the budget's actually kind of reasonable for it, which is kind of crazy, but
yeah, because Tom Cruise is like, we don't need to hire any stuntmen. I'll just do everything.
yes.
So I think you're right. What do you think about the premium screen thing that has been going on with him? I know he's very upset that Christopher Nolan will be having kind of carte blanche with those with Oppenheimer, and I know that Tom Cruise feels very strongly about his film being seen on premiere screens.
Right.
This
is it's Paramount's problem as a studio, in my opinion. They cannot get their act together. So you have a year, this movie's coming out, and you're supposed to look at the rest of the slate and say, okay, when should our movie come out? And you see Christopher Nolan's name within a month. You need to move your movie. Because that's the thing about Nolan's movies that I think are really unique is it's not about what it makes in the box office, but the screens it will take up is the best ones. It will be the best screens because it's the quality factor. And I don't think it's going to affect him as much. I think there's enough gap. I think I understand why he wants to do it, but that's a Paramount issue. It's like the pecking order. It's kind of funny that Warner Brothers has apologized to Christopher Nolan and paid him a bonus just out of good faith to try to get him back, because they realize that there's not a lot of people doing quality like that. And I understand why Tom Cruise is saying what he's saying, but he also needs to read the room and say, he should make a joke out of it. Like, yeah, I want us to move it, but like, if you're going to have anyone steal your screens, Christopher Nolan Oppenheimer is probably the one that you'd want. Like,
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I can't believe the studio didn't see this because Nolan solidified that studio, like, I think it was like 9 months or 10 months before they did.
Mm-hmm.
So, or they solidified the release date. So that it's really surprising that they were like, let's take a gamble. Like, I don't know. Bad choice. I agree. Christopher Nolan does have every right to keep his film in premium screens as long as he wants to. And at the end of the day, we do need to see theaters upgrade themselves. It's a shame they couldn't do it during the pandemic because they were all losing money, but that would have been the perfect opportunity because they were all closed. You know?
And that's like, so I am really familiar with Regal's like operating and headquarters and everything about how they run their thing. And I think that when that all went down, like before that, things were maybe not great, but they weren't as bad as they were. And then the amount of debt they went into. So unless you have like Dolby, like the AMC has a Dolby kind of theater, it's rough right now. Which the question is there too many theater chains? Or is not enough people going to the movies? Are the movies the problem? Like would people go, or is it rough right now? I mean, it's not cheap. It's definitely not cheap to go to the movies.
No, it's not. And these premium theaters or premium screens cost at least $10 more a ticket. I pay it because if I'm going to see it like that,
Right.
you know, I mean, I don't need to see like a little indie rom-com like that.
Right.
But I think sometimes it is kind of fun to see a movie that you normally wouldn't see on a big screen. But it just doesn't happen often because the tickets are so expensive, you know? So.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too, is like there's certain movies you want to see it. So the question is, let's say you see whatever movie because you really want to see it in a big screen. Why would you go see like an in-between movie in a normal screen, or you just save the money for the next? Like, and that's why I do think that they're doing the right thing with the passes. I do think that is a more solid future. The monthly, like, so you pay the $20, you see how many ever movies you want a month. But if that's going to work, the movie studios still have to deliver constant movies, because there's some months where it's not worth having I mean, it's worth it now because there's like 5 things out, but
Totally. I'm going to go to the chat. This is something
good.
we were talking about this earlier. We got into a conversation about American Beauty and how 1999 was really interesting because we were kind of moving away towards that concept from the 80s of let's make a lot of money and have this facade of a beautiful house and a really nice car and lawn and all that stuff. And it was that Gen X mentality. It was kind of like, F the establishment. And a lot of these movies started coming out with Fight Club and Office Space, as well as American Beauty. They kind of all had the same message. There's a lot of reasons why 1999 was a really great year in film. But what do you think about the message and the transition from the messages of what people were trying to say in that era?
That's really interesting, because I had just watched, and I forget the name of the YouTube channel, but Michael Shannon was going, it's where they pick out old physical media movies. And when he talked about being John Malkovich, he talked about that idea of like, okay, this was like talked about the idea of brave movies and the idea that they were something. And this is what I miss. I love all 3 of those movies. I especially love Office Space in a way that maybe is probably not the best, but it's not the comedy of Office Space I love. I love the message it kind of yells at you about work and the monotony of work and spending your life in work. I love it. I honestly think, and this is where like I disagree with some people about like messaging. It's how you do certain messages. Do you put it in Office Space where you're having a great time watching it? It's hilarious. These characters are stupid. Characters are like ridiculous. Like the whole scene with the Bobs is still one of my favorite scenes of all time. And it's like a play on he doesn't care and now they want to hire him. Like, or they want to promote him. He's great because now he's management material because he's like, I finally just doesn't care anymore. Fight Club, though, is a great example of that class thing. I like this brand style of movies that they go after something. Fight Club is just it's really like what a commentary on the class system and like what it would be like to reset everything. Also a little bit on what inner voices in battle, but
Yes.
but I also think that the late 90s had just home run movies.
Yeah.
I just think that we had a true era. And maybe it was society pre-internet social media that allowed for it to be a little bit like that, which is really cool. But no, I mean, just those 3 movies right there. Like,
No. Yeah.
we
Absolutely.
won't get 3 movies like that this year. Like, there will not be 3 movies like that this year that are really interesting and like aren't like the normal, like you have to have this big name actor, you have to market it this way to make money, it's for streaming. This was like, we're going to make a movie that is crazy. Of course you have 3 great, I don't know. Yeah, I like that. That's a good point to make.
Yeah. Yeah, I could go on and on about 1999, but fantastic response to those. I did not see Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I don't know if you did, but I have not.
Halfway saw it because of something I was doing at the time, a job I was doing, but like, I mean, again, nothing against it for sure. Like, what's that Vin Diesel movie where he's like the babysitter?
Oh yeah. I don't remember what it's called, but
I don't know, but Vin Diesel anything. Oh, yeah.
We all know how much you love that.
Yeah.
Matrix 2, 1999, Breaking Free from the Cubicle. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. The Matrix. Matrix 1 is on its own level. So, honestly, I really don't like the other Matrix movies compared to the first one. It's like if I don't separate the first one, my brain is like, these aren't even the same stratosphere because the first one is just layered. It's a little bit like Office Space in that way. Like, of course I hope you would leave your monotonous, boring life and hope there's something more. Like, oh yeah, that's a great one too.
Yeah. It was like, it's so reflected in the movies of the 80s where it's just like a lot of promises of, having a crazy, rich lifestyle if you just do this. And then,
right.
Then it's like, oh, well, you have the money, but your entire family is incredibly dysfunctional. And so no one's really happy. And I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like that's really cool.
Totally right about being John Malkovich, Laren. I guess they were talking about that. Mm-hmm. Got to say hi to Dude Who Loves Movies. He is a great channel. Really nice guy. He uses for his intro the Aerosmith song, but instead of like dude looks like a lady, it's Dude Who Loves Movies. Like that. He like literally, yeah, he sings it, and like I guess he recorded it and he just puts it, and it sounds like so homemade, but it's like it works for his shtick, and it works out.
That's fun. Great. Hey, on YouTube, just try whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't ever hold back from putting it out there. I like it.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I saw in the chat. It's The Pacifier is the Vin Diesel movie.
Oh.
Yes. The Pacifier I've seen many times because the summer it came out, I was working like a summer job and the kids always watched it. And I eventually got so into it because I was like, Vin Diesel's just everything now.
Oh my goodness. Look who showed up.
Kick this guy out of the chat. Get him out of here.
You're banned. No, we love him. Yes. John was on last week.
I miss those movies that are the idea of rebelling against the system is a message if you really think about it, but it's also one that the majority of people in your majority audience of films like love that. Like I don't know. It's kind of like Hunger Games. It's the idea you're going up against the machine. You know, the unstoppable capital. But yeah, the Matrix is the ultimate. Like, yeah. That being said,
should we have any sequels? more sequels? I think we should be done with it. But
yeah, there is a point where like when you make something so great, if you never had a plan to sequel it, which they didn't originally, like they had ideas but not a plan. Yeah, I don't know. It's why bridge movies are my favorite movies, is when there was clearly a plan for the second movie to link to the third. So the first one's the introduction, the second one is designed to bridge the first and third. And you can tell like Empire Strikes Back is a bridge movie. That Matrix, Reloaded is not a bridge movie in any shape or form. You know, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, I'd love to hear your opinion on this. Same directors. Well, first of all, I love V for Vendetta a lot. I think that left a huge impression on me. Oh my goodness, you can hear me, but I'm gonna have to switch my camera. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to let you tell everyone about your channel a little bit. If they don't know who you are, I'm going to make you big while I fix this. I'm so sorry.
So I have a YouTube channel, and it's just a giant cover up for my secret Bunnies and Burrows channel where I'm going to play D&D, just me playing like 8 characters talking to myself. But no, we talk about movies sometimes, and Nerdy Film Girls on there a lot. But yeah, I talk about movies because I really love entertainment. And I don't know. Growing up, I used to read the reviews of like all the reviewers in the paper. It was in the newspaper, and it was like, Roger and Ebert and all them. And I never thought anyone was being honest. Not to say like they were all lying or whatever, but like they were giving like this 3-sentence review instead of saying like, they would review like The Matrix and be like, oh, it's a fun, trippy ride. And it's good. You should see it. Instead of like, this movie is hardcore in your face. This guy jumps off a building and doesn't make it, and he's okay because it's The Matrix. Okay, yeah, I'm down. I'll read some of this chat too. Lance Jackson, Heavyweights and Mighty Ducks are my favorite movies. I love Heavyweights. Super underrated. Ben Stiller is phenomenal. I mean, Dodgeball's the example most people use, but Heavyweights, Ben Stiller, that is classic performance. I made a Lego Ghost Rider short film on my channel recently. The View with Drew. I'll have to check that out. Ghost Rider's the character I hope they get right going forward. I didn't hate the Nicky Cage Ghost Rider movie. I'd love to know what you think about that. Yes, Zach's Matrix Reloaded had a great soundtrack. Movies that do music well are like really baffling to me because like, okay, Guardians is a great example. I think they did the music great in the first 2 movies. The third one, I don't think the music was bad, but was it too much? Reloaded, they did music that wasn't like, 80s throwback. It was like what? It was like techno. I don't know. Mortal Kombat comes to mind for music. Dude who loves movies, Little Giants is where it's at. Yeah. I mean, it has John Madden in it. Like, and, you'll know. What's his name? I hate that I don't know this off the top of my head right now. Guy who's in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He's in Little Giants. Yes. Love his story about, he was on top of the world. And then with what happened to his wife and kids, he stepped away and was like, I don't know. That's my idea of like a Hollywood star that I really respect. Like height of his career, like could not, between like Spaceballs and everything else he was doing, like couldn't get any bigger. Yeah. So, all right, you're back.
I am back. I had to switch to I'm still having technical difficulties with my new setup, so I apologize everyone while I work out the kinks on that. So, but thank you so much, Bone Bridger, for taking over the chat for a bit. That was fantastic. Where did we leave? What was the last question, or where did we leave off? It was the I know you were
about to talk about V for Vendetta or something.
Oh, yes. Did you ever see the film Cloud Atlas? Because that was one of the apparently most books that everyone said you could never make into a movie, and the Wachowski siblings decided to do so. I have not fully seen it. I kind of like half saw it, but even some people think it's the most genius thing in the world. or they hate it. So I was just wondering, since we were talking about the Wachowski siblings, that what your thoughts were.
It did not connect with me. Now, I didn't read the book, so that there is that is definitely a caveat. It's not like Ready Player One where like there was like a background for me going in where I had this preconceived like, so I didn't really know what to expect. And I think sometimes that backfires with me with movies is because if I have no idea what to expect, I usually watch the trailer. So like that movie, I get an idea of what it is, and if it's too far off of that, sometimes I struggle. I could definitely see why people like it. It's I'm trying to think of a really good example of a movie that like it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's not in like a offensive kind of like some people will hate it because it bugs them. It's just one of those things that I don't know. I'm going to use an example. This is not a great example, but The Fifth Element, I love that movie in a way that is unhealthy. Like I know it is not a great movie by movie standards, but if you ask me, is it a great movie? I'm going to say yes and be fierce about defending it, even though like, I mean, it's not it is, but it's not. So
That director,
yeah, I don't know.
So interesting too, because he did Leon the Professional. I know the last film I had heard that he did was that space type of film, and it was like two really young actors that were maybe up and coming, and I don't really think it had the star power to get people to the theater. I'm blanking on his name, by the way, the director, but I don't really know if I've seen anything that's coming out recently in the past since that film. I don't know if he's done anything else. I don't know what really happened to him.
I don't either. I know that there was a lot of talk about that movie's budget and how it was like, that's going to change things. Like that was like a moment, I think, in sci-fi where it was like, and then Netflix started pushing for small sci-fis at that time. And that's when we got like, I think the precursor to movies that led to like Bird Box and stuff that are like, they're thrillers, but they're sci-fi. Like they really are sci-fi. And then now there's a pushback for big sci-fi. But what's interesting is I don't think we're going to get like, what is that? The House of 1,000 Planets or Planet of 1,000. I don't know. I wonder where sci-fi is going, because sci-fi, well, we do have Dune coming out.
Yes.
Which is an example of how big it can be. But the first Dune didn't do great at the box office. So
no, I felt, I liked the first Dune a lot. I felt that if you are unfamiliar with the material, it's a little bit like it kind of, you feel like kind of like an outsider looking in a bit. I think Denis Villeneuve is a huge Dune super fan. And I think he directed the film really well. But I think that the generic audience isn't necessarily always on board if it's something that feels so and again, I love the show don't tell type of thing. I don't think you need to do that in Dune, but Dune is like the original movie that David Lynch did it, right? And I'm thinking of a different director. I believe it was David Lynch, maybe not. But the original film from the 80s is like explains too much, but it's like a little bit easier to follow, even though it's kind of like a really cheesy version of Dune. So I don't know if that maybe is hindering audiences to see the next one, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, at the end of the day, it is visually absolutely gorgeous, and I'm excited to see what they do with the sequel moving forward.
What you just pointed out is this is a great example of this for screenplays. Because so he has control over that project because he's such a great director. So he writes it the way you would quality wise, which is you don't explain the things that are unexplained. So there is some source material missing for people that aren't familiar, which I like from a stylistic point of view. But if you're trying to make money and explain that to big audiences, it's why I like Ready Player One's intro in the movie that skips a lot of things by having him summarize what's going on and explain the world. For a widespread audience, I really liked it. And you know what's funny is if you write that way, critics would say it's bad, and at contests you'll get like blowback. But the second you talk to most producers, they want explained, they want it to be more clear. So it's interesting to see the two worlds between like, here's an artist making Dune as great as he can, but should someone there be saying we need to clear this up for general audiences? Probably.
Yeah, No,
So
I agree with that.
it's why I think you need someone there that's willing to disagree with you, which I mean, it's great that he has all the control and power. He's a great director, but what's the goal? Like, I mean, is it to get audiences to watch it so you can keep making, I don't know.
Well, the greatest example of needing someone to disagree with you, I always find, is when they tried to do Spider-Man on Broadway, and Julie Taymor, who had directed The Lion King and then did the film Across the Universe, the Beatles movie, she was given the Spider-Man, I think it's called After Dark or something like that, on Broadway, and it was so out there and really was like so not close to the source material at all, and no one told her no, and like U2, like Bono did the music, and it was like considered the biggest disaster ever, and they had like all of these technological rigs to have Spider-Man fly all throughout the theater, and these theaters are old, like they're not like a theater in Vegas, so like they are like not built for that, and so that's why like every week you would hear like another guy playing Spider-Man like crashing into the audience and things like that. It was like a mess.
Yeah, that's an example of someone needs to be like, no. like I'm a structural engineer, we're gonna go with, let's not do that. Yeah. Bad plan.
No, exactly. We have, did you already do this one? I wasn't sure if you already did. Okay.
No. I kind of jumped around with whatever I could see. And
cool. Terminator 2, Spider-Man 2. So he likes all sequels, really. They're all sequels.
another rare thing we see. So I would consider The Dark Knight the movie that takes, like, if the first one's designed to set up the second one, The Dark Knight really expands everything about Batman in a way. Terminator 2 is interesting. If you had been alive at the time and they had said, hey, we're going to make a second movie and we're going to turn the bad guy into a good guy, and Arnold's going to be a good guy, and here's our plan, I don't know how hyped you would have been before the movie came out, but the way they executed the movie, the tone, very light comedy, but also the story was really important because it was a natural progression of, okay, so the first movie is we're trying to protect her. The second movie is how do we stop this thing from happening?
Yes.
If they had never made another Terminator movie, that franchise, even though there's 2 movies, would be considered perfect. I mean, this is what I understand why they made 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all these different ones, Dark Fate. But could you imagine if they had just shut it down and said, we made 2 perfect movies, we're done?
Yeah.
Like, people would talk about it differently because it wouldn't be so like run to the ground. It's like Matrix. What if they had said, okay, instead of doing 2 and 3, we come up with a really good plan, we take our time, and we home run this next one,
Yeah.
And which I know that's money. I totally get it, but I don't know. I like that too. Spider-Man 2, of course, classic. Logan, great movie. I love all those movies. I'm watching The Dark Knight right now because I'm going to try to do like a movie about bridge movies.
Oh.
And I forgot I was taking notes. Like, I didn't take notes because it's so good.
Now, are you doing a bridge movie video because you are the bone bridger?
I am indeed the bone bridger. So if we're going to talk about bridges, I'm something of an expert. Now, for those of you out there that aren't familiar with bridge design and architecture, bones are not a quality choice. They're not sturdy. They won't last, but it sends such a strong message. Like, if you show up at the bone bridger's house and you have to walk across his bone bridge, you're going to think about that decision. Like, you're just going to be like, is this the right thing to do? Like, yeah. So
love that. I'm actually looking forward to that video. So I'm excited to see.
I really need like a high quality video editor that can create these things that I say, because that would be epic to have, like, one day.
You need a whole, you need the visual of the bone bridge itself and the bone bridger.
I need to show you. So I asked AI to create my superhero. It is horrifying. It is not fit for the public. One try is all it needed. I was like, yep, that's it. We're shutting this down.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
What program did you try it on?
Playground AI.
Okay.
And I gave it like 10 prompts, and I referenced who I was as a channel, And the only thing negative I said on it, I think I said leave out anything related to Marvel, and it created a monster.
Oh my
So,
god.
but I love it. I downloaded it. I might get it imprinted on something, maybe on my
Yeah.
hat. I don't know. Yeah.
That's your merch. That's your future merch.
That is my future merch. Yeah.
Oh, we have a hot take, I guess. I actually love to Reloaded, and I can make a case for it. I'm sure, because John can make a really solid case for a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
John's got, yeah, he can do it because he thinks about these things in ways that I don't really look at them that way. And then when I look back, I'm like, it's a pretty solid way to look at it. Plus, Reloaded, I haven't watched it in a while. So I wonder, how does it hold up? That's, maybe it does.
Maybe it does. Yeah. I took my whole extended family to see The Matrix midnight screening in '99.
Oh, I miss midnight screenings.
Yeah.
I miss the thrill, the audience, like just everybody. Oh man, so good. So good.
Fun. Mission Impossible, James Bond, but T2 Judgment Day. Me watch classics like Die Hard, Matrix, Rambo, and Indiana Jones. I mean, those are all the classic action movies.
Ironically, Mission Impossible is the one still going.
Oh,
Are going well. I mean, Indiana Jones is going, but like the one that's
Right.
being received well is Mission Impossible, which I would not have predicted that back in the day after the first movie. I wouldn't have said 20 years later we're going to be, 10 in, 11 in, 9 in, whatever we are.
No, it's that Scientology juju that Tom Cruise has.
Tom Cruise. Something's going on there.
Yeah.
He's doing something. I mean, he might be hanging out over here doing some kind of weird magic over here. There's no telling.
Oh, thank you, John. That must have been when I came back.
Your
Let's
turn
see
from your journey.
here. Oh, okay. Quick question for you, because we were talking about Point Break before you came on. So he would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I mean, I assume because we're all normal human beings here, we're talking about the Point Break, not that thing they did a few years ago, right? We're talking about Keanu and Swayze. Yeah, I really liked it. Honestly, that's one of the first movies I probably ever watched. And I'm talking about like once I wasn't like little kid.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was cool. For me, it represented that lifestyle of like, you can just be on the fringe, but maybe you never get away with anything. But for me, it's the ending. The ending of that movie, the whole him going out into the water, I just think that that's so important. That's what makes the movie. It doesn't have like a happy ending.
Yeah.
And it changes your main character. Like he doesn't go through the movie thinking the same. And instead of saying like he's just going to change, you put him in situations where he starts to see the other side. Point Break solid. Wish they wouldn't have remade it. I don't think some things should be remade. And that's one of them.
I saw that they had. I remember seeing the trailers for like the new one. I can't imagine it was well received because exactly. They should not have.
It was like getting hit in the face. I mean, it's not even that terrible, but everything good about it is just from Point Break. So,
Spider-Man 2 is one of the best comic book movies ever. Yeah, I think everyone would agree with that. And we have John actually
Most
chiming in
people.
on that same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
If
Doc
you
Ock
update
was
the
just the best, I think.
effects. Oh, what's his name? We talked about him the other day. The actor that plays Doc Ock.
Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me and John, I mean, this might have been off camera, talked about this. He's one of those actors that it must have truly been something to be there with. Because what do you give him as direction? Like, what are you really going to say? Because you encounter someone that is playing a role that is perfect for them. I would say the same thing with William Dafoe, but you just step back and just watch. And so like, despite the VFX not really holding up, that will always hold up. His performance, a story, everything. And Toby's not my favorite Spider-Man. I know that's like bad, but like,
No, that's okay.
I just think that he is, I mean, that's a good example. Another example, they shouldn't have done a third movie. The second one's not a bridge movie. If you're going to do a third movie, you shouldn't have done what you did, of course. But like the first two had the same tone and the third one went a whole different direction. Of course, that could be directors. That could be a lot of things.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree with you. Did Sam Raimi do the third one? Did he do the whole trilogy? I don't. I feel like I'm not
He
sure.
might have. That's a good question. I do not know. Someone in the chat might know.
Yeah, maybe someone in the chat would know. This
I
is
have a.
no.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can
Oh,
go
I was
back.
just gonna say, Sam Raimi, like, it's crazy to think that like he was at the beginning of the whole superhero movement.
Yeah.
Well, because I don't think of him as a superhero director. Like
No.
I personally don't.
No.
But he may. I
Horror.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
he
And
did
actually,
do all three.
that's one of the things I'm curious about the Marvels, because Nia DaCosta is a horror director, because she did Candyman, which was actually, as a remake, was really well received, but I didn't feel like from the trailer for the Marvels that it had any specific artistic direction from anyone. So I don't know if it's just the trailer or what, but it's odd. They actually do this quite often, I find, where they'll choose horror directors to do these superhero movies, and I don't know if it's necessarily always the right choice. But
Oh, I completely agree, because it's assuming that everyone's great at everything. Like even movie directors like Styles, it's assuming that any director could do any movie, like that Spielberg could make any movie. I mean, I don't doubt that he's a great filmmaker, but
right.
most filmmakers learn to stay in their lane, I guess, and only branch out. Like Scorsese has a lane. It's a serious dramatic lane.
Mm-hmm.
And it works. Like, why go comedic when I just fear they're getting paydays. Like, I fear that, like, okay, they do a horror movie that's great and they do great. And then Marvel's just like, well, here's 3 times what you got for that.
Right.
And that's great. I understand it. Like, I mean, if you were making, like, I mean, I assume some of these directors don't make a lot for these movies. And then Marvel comes in as like, here's 18 times what you just made. I mean, I'd say yes too, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to highlight this person real quick. Tim Talks Talkies is a really great channel, and everyone should check his channel out. And I think we all kind of agree with this as well, that they just keep getting better, probably because of the resources and budgets, I would say, and also just Tom Cruise being like, well, let's do this next time. He's going into space for the second one, right? So
yeah, it's weird. They're progressing in a way that, like, it's like pushing the ante, whereas like Fast and Furious is pushing the ante, but it's a different kind of. Whereas Mission Impossible, for some reasons, like, we can go to space for this next stunt, and I'm like, yeah, you're actually gonna do that. That's wild. Like, you're not gonna CGI that. Like,
no,
that's crazy. I mean, that's awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome. Also, his Mission Impossible, I think, is underrated for the cast that they put in those movies. I think they cast great. I mean, I'm a big Ving Rhames fan, just in general. I think he's a great actor.
Yeah.
Love him in those. But the cast they do, I think, is really well done. Of course, Henry Cavill was a great bad guy. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
The
good.
Flash.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Movies and Trains. He also has a really great studio. Just seeing if there's any questions here. I did not hear that it was awful, but everyone's definitely entitled to their own opinion on these remakes for sure. So, remakes are harder, I think, to get people on board with, versus if it had been a brand new idea and concept from this director, Nia DaCosta. Jordan Peele was a producer on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think that, his company Monkey Paw, I think that was his production company, maybe. Yeah, that'd be an interesting conversation we need to do for a video one day. His company is not what I thought it would be. And maybe that's because if you watch his first movie, you watch Get Out, if you set the bar there, that's hard. And especially when you start doing movies that you're not doing yourself and you're just kind of like producing because you have the studio. There's a lot. I haven't seen Candyman, the Candyman remake, but I could see that because it's not him directly doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I did hear he has 2 films that are going to be released relatively not at the same time, but I think like next year or I heard it was like 2 films instead of taking like a year break to release them. So I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like his last film people like loved, or they were just kind of like, on. I mean, I think a film like that, which I'm blanking out on what it's called at the moment. It's the one after Us, obviously, his alien one. Nope. There's Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nope. I think it was a heavily Spielberg influenced movie. The cinematography and the sound design I thought were just absolutely outstanding in Nope. And I think that is a kind of a film that kind of maybe doesn't sit well on the first viewing, and then you come back to it like in a couple years and you're like, oh wow, like what a film. And, it's one of those, 2001
I
Space
liked that it
Odyssey
was
did badly.
weird.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, you thought it was weird.
I liked that it was weird though. Like, it's like
yeah.
you're saying, like it's worth watching again to see if, like you said, if it sits differently.
Yeah.
Like at first I was like, but you have expectations the first time. But like you said, the visuals, they're good.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. I like that. I think it is also a huge criticism of Hollywood in general. And I think that's why it wasn't nominated for anything, if we want to be completely honest.
Because he got a lot of flack for trying to be a director and not be a comedian and do something serious. And he kind of proved them wrong. And then he started his own studio. And I really like his story. I really do. And he uses actors I really like. Like in Nope, the older actor in it used to be in a ton of stuff long ago. He was in Three Musketeers is one of his most famous things. And I just loved that he got a role in that. That was just a cool, and he was like the film guy. Like he was the film guy. It was cool.
Yes. Next up after these two, yes, Tom Cruise in space.
Yeah, I
yes.
saw a few people say that. I think space is coming. I saw a few people. I mean, why not? Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't see any reason for him not to.
Yeah, I have a feeling too. He thinks he's probably just never going to die, so he can just keep going with that. He's again that Scientology juju.
He's out here living his best life.
Yes. 3 has issues, but his tone and sensibility show through, unlike almost all MCU movies and their directors.
I'm on board with this. If you look at what's happening in Marvel, since the Russos left, they're an exception because when they were there, it was a different vibe. Yeah, I mean, I would still say Multiverse of Madness isn't anywhere as bad as a lot of the other Marvel movies we've gotten lately. I mean, Ant-Man 3, I'd watch Multiverse of Madness as my only movie for the rest of my life before I'll watch Ant-Man 3 again.
Yeah.
Like, I just won't do it. Like, I mean, I like Wanda at least. I mean, yes, there's some, No, I agree. Rami, I mean, his baseline isn't bad. Like, the worst he can do, I feel like, is still good. It's just sometimes not, like he clearly was limited by Marvel. Like there's certain things he was not allowed to do. Like he didn't have the, James Gunn do whatever you want because they fired him and had to bring him back. But yeah.
Well, I guess that's a question too. How do you think, someone asked this, was it Bone Bridge or John Automates? Yeah.
This is jumping back in time. We did talk about this and it was sometime around when the trailer came out, and I have been very outspoken against this movie in terms of it failing. And I just don't think they're going to do what they need to do and fix her character. I think Brie Larson is a talented actress. I mean, The Room is what it is, but I don't think the Marvels will fix her character. John does believe that the Marvels will be better than people think. I don't know if he thinks it'll be good, but he does think it'll surprise. I am starting to believe that too, because reshoots in long amount of time, the Marvels, I don't think is going to be garbage. Does that mean it's going to be good? I don't think it's going to be good, but I don't even know if it could be good because I don't know what Marvel's doing. Like, who's the bad guy? Where is it going? To a point, it's like, what I think though is a lot of people watched the trailer and were like, "Oh, we really like the Beastie Boys." I think that's what the trailer did. Is people were like, "I'm excited for this movie." No, you like the Beastie Boys, which is fair, totally fair. So no, I don't. I think it'll be like okay. I'd be shocked if it's like bad. I do not think it will do well though. It's going to be a battle.
It's going to be a huge battle. And you're right. No one really knows at this point the future of Marvel. I'm not upset with delays and reshoots, just because I think that maybe they are like taking a step back and kind of reevaluating their whole trajectory moving forward. But I don't know. I actually, I was going to ask you this because I didn't see Fast X. Was Brie Larson like likable in that movie at all, or was it more of the same?
I would say her character is poorly done, not because of her. I'll actually defend her on this one. Fast and the Furious makes their characters so phony now. Like they've embraced it, which I think was funny for like 1 or 2 movies. But like the fact that they all suddenly become like family with these people they don't know. Like she meets Vin Diesel and it's like, it's family. Like, yeah, I'll do whatever. I'll throw away my career and my entire everything I've worked for. And they try to relate it where everyone has like a family member you don't know and they're all related. And but I do like that they didn't let anyone beat Jason Momoa's character. And that is a good thing. So none of the hero characters can take on Jason Momoa's character really. Like that is good. It's kind of the problem I had with Captain Marvel 1 is you need a strong villain that you have to overcome to really set up. Like there wasn't an opposition, so her character wasn't as likable. So I would say she's decently likable in Fast X, but I would also say that the Fast X was, it was not good. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it is not good. I enjoyed Jason Momoa, but no. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a great prequel to the Riddick movie with Vin Diesel. It's a great prequel movie.
Earlier I was asked, out of all of the directors and actors, like who would you want to get a drink with? He's someone you just want to have at your party.
Absolutely. Love to. I've seen some interactions where he's great with fans too.
Yeah.
And actually great. Not like red carpet phony, but like saw someone like on the street and like had fun. I've heard of a few examples like that. And I'm like, that's cool because you don't have to be that way.
No.
Like I get it. Like, I agree 100%. Would love to. Yeah.
And that reminds me too, like Johnny Depp is very the same way when it comes to his fans and visiting children's hospitals dressed up as Jack Sparrow. Like, and you can tell it's not fake, Right. It's very, very nice.
I have one celeb I can give that praise to that I can affirm is Jason Isaacs from Harry Potter, plays Malfoy's dad. He's in a bunch of movies, Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
Love Jason Isaacs. So I met Jason Isaacs. This was probably 2010 and it was at a film festival and I had crossed paths with him twice, but I didn't want to bother him. He was just hanging out by himself and I just kind of nodded. And then I ran into him a third time and the dude was so friendly and cool. And he talked to me first. And I was like, oh my gosh. He's like, some people have been talking about movies. And I was like, I can quote every line you had in Black Hawk Down. He was so cool. So Jason Isaacs, real legit dude. He was awesome. I mean, he's just a great guy.
You heard it here.
You heard it here. I will vouch for Jason Isaacs that he was the real deal. Also, Patrick, I met a few people that trip, but he was, what a great dude.
Oh, that's awesome to hear. I love stories
too.
like that.
Really funny. Yeah.
That's cool. What do you both think about Secret Invasion being considered pretty dull? I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard horrible things.
Yeah, I think Critics got, I guess, a couple of episodes, and I think it's about to drop. I am going to be really disappointed if this is bad because I'm not going to lie, I was actually kind of excited for this. If it's as dull as they say, and if the dialogue's as bad as this, a lot of critics are saying the dialogue is bad, and I read a few of the lines. It sounds bad.
Yeah. I only brought this up while you were talking just because it's related, so people in the chats can see. I've not heard the dialogue.
Need this to be a hit.
Yeah.
Marvel's running out of chances. I don't think that they understand that Guardians 3 doesn't really help them. It helps. It was the end. It was like it's not. I don't know. I think
helps
Guardians
James
3. It helped James Gunn, especially if he. especially if he announces some of those actors going to DC. That would be big, I think, right now.
I saw actually he did a podcast with Michael Rosenbaum, who was Lex Luthor on, for anyone in the chat that doesn't know, Lex Luthor on Smallville, he does so much voiceover work for a lot of the comic book series, animated films, or animated series, I should say. And James Gunn I don't know if he meant this as a dig towards Marvel, but he was like, I just want our studio to take time and not just throw things out there, and make sure everything we is with like a lot of care and the writing and all that stuff. Like, he was just very like, we don't want to rush things just to get it out. So I mean, that's hopeful, I think.
I think so too. I'm critical of him, but not because of him. I just wonder how he makes the jump from director writer to you're managing, like you're running the whole thing, but you're not directing and writing everything. I hope he does good. I really do, because I just want a good connected DC universe.
Yes, it's going to be a very interesting couple of years moving forward. Shang-Chi was not bad. I think the bus scene is where it shines. That bus action scene. All of the martial arts choreography in that was really well done, I think. People are mixed on it. It didn't. That movie didn't bring people into the theaters as much as I think everyone was hoping. But it was also like, was it even released in theaters, or was that it was right during the pandemic?
But it wasn't released in China. China didn't allow it to be shown at that time.
Wow.
And I think that it was kind of a wake-up call for Disney. They had a few that weren't allowed to be released there. And I think in hindsight, looking back, they're realizing that it was taken a different way, the way they were pushing it. And I think this is when like some of the issues came out. I also think the end of the movie, and John talks about this a lot, they had something good going, and then they were like, oh, here's a giant CGI monster. The dad-son relationship was the only thing I cared about. Like, it was so good to see him. Like, I don't think it needed the monster. I get Marvel, but also apparently there was a version with Doctor Strange, and they threw that out the window where he was going to come. Wow. And I think that would have been good, because then it connects better. But no, I don't think that movie was bad. I understand why it didn't do well, though. It makes total sense. One, the actor had some comments about fans at that time, which, again, no matter what, you should never talk about the fans when your movie's coming out. If you're about to release something, even if you feel a certain way, which I'm not saying he is, you definitely don't insult people a release day. Like, don't give anyone a reason not to come out.
No, not at all. Let's see. This is a good question, actually. Will we ever see Dark Horse Comics or Image Adapts or anything beyond the big two publishers?
If Netflix does it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I mean, you want to see anything that hasn't been made that isn't bought up by someone. And I hate to say this because I don't want to sound like such a rah Netflix guy, but they make original stuff. And then they also make stuff that's like not necessarily original, but hasn't been made. The only hope I have for anything, granted that's streaming, that's never going to be theaters, but I can't help it. Every once in a while I get something on Netflix and I'm like, dang, I wouldn't get this otherwise. Like, this is a good, that's a good question though. I wonder if things will change. I hope we get some, new studios that aren't so beholden to the Hollywood system, but that is going to be difficult.
It is. It's been a while since we've gotten anything that's even remotely close to, V for Vendetta, like we were talking about, or The Watchmen, or, 300. I'm not trying to just mention all Zack Snyder projects. I know V for Vendetta was not, but I do have a friend who created a comic book series that was just recently picked up by Disney, but it's Disney's. They have like a sub company that is it's brand new, and it's for people of color, for like creators run by people of color, and his comic book is being adapted into a TV show of some sort. I know it's still in early development, but he created his own comic book company, actually, because his comic, he tried to sell it to a lot of even Dark Horse and things like that. And a lot of those companies had a different vision, and just the comic book industry currently is very white, and that's kind of where he had struggles, because his is a story called Harriet Tubman the Demon Slayer. And so they had a lot of problems in those meetings, because they wanted to change things and all this stuff, and so he just held off, and he was offered a lot of money so many times, and then he finally got this offer to him, and he felt like it was like a good space to actually be able to tell the stories of his comic books accurately. And we need more creative voices that are not from just big studios, and individual stories that I think comic book creators right now are at the peak of they can get their stuff seen the most easily right now. So
yeah. I think that's the new thing. Make something great, get it ready, and then there are little communities and avenues that can, like, you can make your own stuff. Now, it's harder with movies and shows because you got to have money and production budget, but books and comic books and things like that, like, I feel like there's opportunity, and I feel like people just got to put something really great together. I've thought about that. Like, I'm not a comic book writer, but one day maybe I partner with someone that would love to take one of my stories and make it a comic book, and then of course we could do with my audience here. But that's the only way, is you've got to break through and become an independent, or you give up control. So like, this is what your friend went through. The first screenplay I ever sold, my main character was changed in so many ways, and it was okay. Like, I wasn't opposed to it, but then by the end you go through all these changes, and if it doesn't get made, you're like, why did I sell? Like, why did I go through the changes? Like, why would I not just keep what I have until I find someone that wants to make it as is with like minimal changes for budget reasons? So I think that the independent creator is a great thing. I love the rise of, like, especially comic books, because I don't know, there's some people doing really well on YouTube selling comics right now. I mean, really well. So
yeah. No, that's so true. And it's interesting, because I remember there was a screenwriter I'd watched who talked about this, and I don't know if this would be the case now, but maybe. But there was that era where every movie you'd see, the trailer would say based off the graphic novel, and I remember they said that their agent told them, if you want to make this movie, you want to sell this script, turn it into a graphic novel. It doesn't even need to sell, but just so we can say based off of a graphic novel, they'll be more enticed to make it into a film.
Absolutely.
So
yep, that's all it takes.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Yep.
I'm going to thank everyone in the chats for stopping by today. It was lovely having Bonebridger on. His channel is phenomenal. If you guys have not subscribed, please subscribe. His information's down below in the description. We collaborate quite frequently now, and
she's on there this week. You can go see Nerdy Film Girl on this week.
Yes, and he and John Automates also collaborate quite frequently, and he is now doing a live stream on Thursdays. I believe you're starting at 11:30 or noon.
I start about 11:30, and then you and John usually jump in there sometime after 12.
Yeah.
If you guys want to come by, feel free to join. But thanks for having me.
Yes, and everyone's thrilled, I'm sure, that you're doing a live stream. It's been fantastic.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
This is fun too, just interacting with people. This is a lot more community and everything that I like this, just the talking with people. And
well, it's especially fantastic when we have such a knowledgeable guest. So
I appreciate that. I mean, if you can't tell by my background, we don't go out in nature here. We stay inside and we watch things.
That's phenomenal. Love that. Love that. Thank you all once again for showing up. And once again, this is Bonebridger. Check out his channel. And thank you all for stopping by.